Hello, everyone, and welcome to this. This is PWME News. That's Pro Wrestling.me News. It is the 29th of April 2016. We are exactly 47 hours and 53 minutes away from the Payback pay per view. We're just over 72 hours away. We're over 72 hours away, depending on where you live in the world right now. And obviously, if you're watching this live or if you're listening to this just on the YouTube channel, away from New Japan Wrestling on Tatanku. And then obviously, we also have Ring of Honor Global Wars pay-per-view event taking place next Sunday. There will be a PWME Payback preview slash predictions coming up tonight or this morning if you live where I live right now in the UK. Also, after this, I'm going to be doing a TNA Impact Wrestling review. I've just finished watching the end of Mike Bennett versus EC3. But enough of this, as that sounds like a jam-packed night, as you can tell. I'm pretty bad right now, if I'm going to be honest with you. It's currently 1:08 a.m., but I've got to fight the good fight. I've got a couple of Monster Energy drinks right now because I don't know where you live, but where I live, there's a shop down the road from me. They opened up a new promotion for the monster gimmick. The ones I'm having right now is the ultra white one and the ultra red, both 0 calories, 0 sugar. So looking after myself like a good little Englishman. But today's news has been lackluster once again. But I'm pretty sure heading into tomorrow being Saturday and then Sunday and then Monday, and then Tuesday, that we're going to get some jam-packed days of news for us to break down and look into. We do have some W departures to talk about and TNA signings. Who would have thought that in the million years we talk about W releasing people for budget cuts and TNA hiring? What a mad world, even though you wouldn't believe right now, looking at the news, that TNA is the one in financial trouble. And W is not, and I don't think they ever will be, because they're such a fucking brand and such a publicly traded scummy company. But anyway, W today, they announced that Kyle Edwards has been released to no one's notice. Okal, that's his real name, Andra Alkal. He put Okal announced Friday on Twitter that he parted ways with W, and there are no hard feelings either way. W also removed Edwards' W profile from their official website, much like Rich Brennan earlier on in the week. Okal played a few roles on the W Network, mainly hosting a Week in W History show, which is about 2 or 3 minutes long. He sat down with Corey Graves, and he did that, and I watched it a few times, but it's not on the network, so I don't know what that's on there for. He also filled in a few times for Scott Stanford, hosting the Monday Night Raw pre-show on Monday nights, obviously airing half an hour before Monday Night Raw airs live, and that was exclusively on the WWE Network. Thursday, O'Cole tweeted that next would be the 1 year anniversary of the Week in WWE history, and now he will not be a part of it. That's really hysterical. So he spends a year trying to build a damn segment or a damn show, and he can't be part of the year anniversary. I'm going to be honest with you. This guy, first of all, I think he might have done a couple of backstage interviews. As far as I'm aware, that's pretty much it for Carl Edwards. I knew his name. I wasn't fond of him. I saw him pop up every now and then, but seeing him cut, apart from obviously his family, I hope his family aren't, shocked or angry or disappointed at the guy. Because at the end of the day, there's so many talkers, and I think it was essential and, quite frankly, necessary to cut some of these backstage reporters, wink, wink, nudge, nudge there, because they weren't doing anything. They were generally, legitimately not doing anything every single week and earning a paycheck. What did Carl Edwards do minus that week in history segment? Nothing. Tom Phillips does NXT, and if I guarantee you guys, if Rich Brennan was still on NXT right now, didn't get called up to main event, Tom Phillips was still main event. If that's the way how it was being played, I think Tom Phillips would be the one to be getting released. I think it doesn't mean jack shit for any of these guys to even have jobs. As far as I'm speaking, you may think of me as a narcissistic sack of shit, or an imbecile, or a nimrod, or a harsh, nasty piece of work. I could give two shits if this guy is employed or not. Again, maybe horrible, but that's just the way I see it. I mean, Tom Phillips again. I'm expecting him to be gone soon. I honestly am, and I know NXT is different. Why not have, just imagine this, Mauro Ronaldo, and I can finally pronounce the man's name, as it took me 4 months, and Corey Graves as a broadcast team down for NXT. Now, I'm going to be honest with you right now, that just produced pre-cum down the side of my leg, so I'm glad this is only an audio exclusive show. But in the end of the day, NXT needs to be different. It needs to stand out. So that's obviously why they're not having the same commentators on SmackDown. But in the end of the day, just to summarize, Carl Edwards has been released. Who the fuck cares? Not me. If you're one of those 6 people, including his mum and dad and wife and child, then I do feel sorry for you, and I wish him the best in all of his future endeavors. See you in TNA. Speaking of TNA, what a great transition. They announced today 3 roster transactions and signings, and 1 re-signing. Well, 2 new re-signs and 1 re-sign and 2 signs. The one who re-signed was Robbie E. Obviously, he's of the Bromance faction slash stable slash gimmick. He's re-signed of TNA. He's been a mainstay since 2010. I'm going to be honest with you, he's improved a lot. I mean, 6 years ago, I would not have thought I would go on here and say that he's actually quite talented. But recently, he's really picked up his game. I'd say towards the end of last year, maybe middle part towards this year, he's actually improved a lot. And I'm actually sorry, that's disgusting, and I apologize I did that. It's actually kind of impressive to see how he went from this goofball, and I mean goofball, who came out to a guy playing to actually being a talented wrestler. That's not a knock. That's actually a compliment. I really am impressed with Robbie E as of late. He's really picked up his game. It's just he needs to work on his gimmick, because what happened was he went through the stage where he wasn't talking about like boom or any stupid things like that. He actually came out and was actually being a professional wrestler. He went for a gimmick stage where he was like, I'm the wrestler, and I can prove to you that I can wrestle. And now he's back to being a goof with Jesse Goddard. But at the end of the day, the tag team division is very weak. It's very dull. It's very lack of depth. And it's good to see, TNA putting them back together, because it's better than them just being on Explosion every single week. And if you didn't even know what Explosion is, and to be honest, I wouldn't blame you. If you live in England, you might know what they are. But we in England every single Wednesday, or maybe Tuesday, or maybe Thursday, I don't know, I haven't watched it that long. It's like W Superstars. There'll be one match taped for TNA Explosion, and that match will be live. Well, not live, it'll be aired. And then there'll be replay segments of Impact, and then there'll be a talk show. I think it's called Spin Cycle. I think many of you will be familiar with it. They made a YouTube exclusive show towards the end of 2013 or 14, and that used to be an Explosion exclusive, but who gives a fuck? Explosion is irrelevant. So yeah, there you are. Robbie E. re-signs with TNA or Impact Wrestling, whatever the name of the company is. Who gives a shit? But this is what's more important. Independent standout Caleb Conley. He has signed a deal with TNA. That is great pickup. How many times have I been on the Evolve show reviews? How many times have I said that Premier Athlete Brand, the PAB, is one of the best and possibly my favorite faction or stable in the whole world of professional wrestling? Caleb Conley, Anthony Sokalval, what a trio. Absolute magnificent. I'm a huge fan of the group. Now Caleb Conley getting to be on the main stage of TNA. I know it's still, in the end of the day, they're on TV, they're on international television. They're on India, they're in Italy, they're in Mexico, they're in England, they're in Canada. They're all around the world, which to me is why I'm happy that Caleb Conley signed with TNA, that more people get to see this guy. And if you've never seen or heard of Caleb Conley, you're going to be impressed. The guy is very talented. He looks the part. He's generally really impressive. I've seen some of his stuff in Evolve. I've seen some of his stuff in Full Impact Pro down in Florida. And he really is a magnificent talent. And I'm hoping that he can show the world just how damn good he is. Also, independent women's wrestler Allysin Kay has officially joined the roster. She will be known as Saina. She was a part of the TNA Knockouts Knockdown. She's also of Shine, which is a part of the WWN family. Interesting to see TNA signing some WWN wrestlers. That's very interesting. Obviously you guys know about the relationship and the deal between WWN and Gabe Sapolsky and the W. That's very interesting to see TNA swipe them out. I like this. I'm going to be honest with you. I like TNA signing younger talents, because then they can build them so that they're stars, and then maybe they can go into W and NXT. I like that, because one thing I was about to rant and rave on the upcoming TNA Impact Wrestling review is that there's no talent. When I mean that, it's like no homegrown talent anymore. EC3, former WWE. Drew Galloway, former WWE. Tyrus, former WWE. Jeff Hardy, former WWE. Matt Hardy, former WWE. Mike Bennett, former Ring of Honor. They all come from TV companies. Evolve is not a television company. In the end of the day, it's still a small independent. It's like coming from Progress, or coming from Rev Pro, or coming from Southside, or coming from AIW. In the end of the day, it's still coming from a small independent. That's why I think it's magnificent. That's why I think it's great for TNA to start signing these people. Not only is it going to be cheaper and it's going to save them money in the long run, but B, you can create these and make them, as the and the wrestling business likes to call them, superstars. So I honestly think that's a really great and magnificent idea from TNA, and I respect all 3 of those signings and re-signings, because that really is a good job, and that makes me happy. Good business decision from TNA for once. Good job. Jesus H. Christ, and a popsicle stick, you tell I'm in a good mood. I'm actually praising TNA. And if you want to hear positive, I'm going to be doing the Impact Wrestling review after this show airs, and I'm actually going to be the majority of the part quite positive. I know lots of TNA fans will now be happy, but at the end of the day, I call it as I see it. I am going to be negative for things that I think are going to be bad, and I can't stand it when people bash me in the comments for either A, having an opinion, or B, having an opinion that's right down the middle, not being either side, or C, just getting blasted for being against the company that you like. No, look, I'm going to be honest with you. I bash WWE, I bash TNA, I bash Ring of Honor, I bash New Japan, I bash Lucha Underground. If it sucks, I'm going to tell you it sucks. I don't care what company logo's on the ramp, on the apron, on the damn ropes. I could give a shit. If the product is good, I'm going to put it over. This week's Impact was good. I fully recommend you listening to this now. If you're watching this live on demand, whatever the fuck, hopefully it's before Sunday. If you live in England, check it out on Challenge at 9 p.m. Get those TV ratings up in the UK, because even though TNA is big in the UK, the ratings are actually appalling. They're barely scraping 180,000 every week, and that's disgraceful. But at the end of the day, it's big in the UK, wink, wink, nudge, nudge. But the difference is fans in the UK are willing to pay for going to the live events, pay to go for the house shows, pay to have the merchandise. That's why there's an English TNA store. But American fans, they won't buy it, but who gives a fuck? That's what's really funny. If you guys know, here's a little fun fact for you. If you guys know the Death of WCW book, the same people who wrote that book will not be writing the Death of TNA book. Do you know why? Not because TNA won't die, because I hope it doesn't, but part of my gut says they will. Because apparently TNA fans just don't spend any money. That's why they've gone down to 2 pay-per-views a year, because what's the point? They won't buy them. And that's a sad state of affairs, but it's the way it is. Going to get on to some... speaking of AIW, as I touched on earlier, AIW, they announced a complete and, quite frankly, loaded field for the 2016 JT Lightning tournament. It's the invitational tournament. It doesn't air. It takes place on May the 27th and May the 28th, obviously in Cleveland, Ohio, as AIW is a Cleveland, Ohio independent. And what a damn good list this is. So we got Homicide, what a fucking Ring of Honor legend, a TNA legend, what an absolute great all-round worker. Dan Severn, obviously from MMA. I'm shocked that guy's still alive and kicking. Well, not alive and kicking. I apologize. That was disgraceful. I'm shocked this guy is still around. There you go. Ray Rowe, obviously one half of Ring of Honor World Tag Team Champions with Hansen. Tim Donst, Tyson Dux from Canada. Luis Linden, DJ Z from TNA. Tracy Williams, that's Hot Sauce. Tracy Williams from WWN. Cheech, what an awful name. Laredo Kid from Mexico. Big Damo from UK, former ICW World Champion. Really good. He might be current ICW champion. I mean, I remember 2 months ago when I went to watch ICW, Big Damo was the ICW World Champion. I'm not 100% sure if he lost it to Drew Galloway or something like that, but I'll show you. This is the new show. I'm going to make sure my facts are facts. So I'm going to type in ECW Champion. And fingers damn crossed I was right, otherwise I'm going to look like an absolute idiot. I hate looking like an idiot. And by the way, ICW is actually officially the ICW World Championship. That's very, very interesting. I can't wait to go to watch ICW again. If you live in England, please go out of your... No, Big Damo is your current ICW World Champion, and it is actually the World Champion, which is great. Colin Delaney, obviously. Colt Cabana, big name there. Alex Daniels, BJ Whitmer. Brian Myers, obviously formerly of Kurt Hawkins, Billy Gunn, Cedric Alexander, Little Grado still around, Josh Alexander, Johnny Gargano from NXT, Candice LeRae, Britt Baker, and Vader Scott of Ring of Honor. So that's a damn good show. I wish AIW had like an on-demand service. If they do, I might look into that, because I might actually watch and review that, because that sounds like a damn good tournament. It really, really does. Lucha Underground TV viewership / ratings. Any Lucha Underground fans, I have some really sad news. They drew a combined of not only their first airing and their replay of 159,000 views, which is down close to 21. In fact, it's 20% from last week's show, which is a big hit. Their first airing drew 107,000 viewers, which is the fewest since March 16th, and the replay drew 52,000, which is slightly up from last week. But I think because NXT having such a strong show this week, I think maybe that's a potential reason. And there's a lot of buzz going around of the NXT, because obviously the NXT Championship change with Samoa Joe and Finn Balor. That's why, in my opinion, I think that the TV ratings and viewerships were hit this week, because the people watching NXT instead of Lucha Underground. That's why the replay viewership was up. because they then finished NXT and then watched Lucha Underground. So sad news for Lucha fans, but hopefully they bring it back up next week. But TV ratings minus Impact have actually been down this week. So good for Impact for picking up their game in viewership-wise. So the Go Home show heading into the WWE Payback pay-per-view, which we will talk about later on this channel. We'll be doing a preview and prediction show, and I'm looking forward to breaking down that card because it actually looks like a damn good show. So it is the Go Home SmackDown leading into the Payback. They scored a 1.54 rating, which is down 10% of last week. So if you take your memory back to last week, they only drew a 1.71, so it's nearly down 0.2 points nearly. That's insanity. Similar to Monday Night Raw's TV rating, which I talked about earlier, SmackDown drew the lowest TV rating of the whole damn entire year. Similar to Raw, like I talked about, December 2015 was the lowest point. That's where we are again. They drew 2.109 million viewers, which is down 13%, which calculates around 320,000 viewers from last week. It was the fewest views of the year, obviously, as we just touched on with the TV ratings being low. It's sad. You know, in the end of the day, people will whine and complain, telling you that TV ratings and viewership figures don't matter. I think they do, because the more people watching your show means the more money you're going to get from advertisers. It's a business in the end of the day. You know, that's why TNA, I pray and hope that their viewership goes up, because then you get more adverts, because the more people watching the show means more money that advertisers are going to pay the company for having more viewers on the show. It's logical. It's just logical. So if you're saying that TV ratings don't matter, then that's not saying money doesn't matter. Anyway, so that was it for today's PWME news. Going to be back and rocking and rolling with an Impact Wrestling review shortly. I'm going to go to the live chat and see if there's anyone in the live chat. If there's not, then I'm going to hit the rack. There is no one in the live chat. We've got one like, so thank you for leaving that like. Whoever you have, make sure you leave a like, make sure you leave a comment, make sure you hit that damn subscribe button. Make sure you head over to ProWrestling.me, that's PWME, that's ProWrestling.me. Make sure you head over to KocoSports.net, that's KocoSports.net. It's with all these guys here in KocoSports. And above all, where it's okay to be a passionate fan, we're going to wrap this bad boy up because I'm about to film and record live a TNA Impact Wrestling review, so stick around. This has been okay. Stay safe, stay well, and I'll be damn sure catching your asses down the line.